are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
The Spurs will be celebrating their 50th anniversary, and Spurs fans are excited. But what exactly do Spurs fans want to see when it comes to celebrating the silver and black? Welcome back to Locked On Spurs, right here on the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Ken's 5 writer, all things San Antonio Spurs. Check out kens5.com/Spurs. And we'd like to thank today's sponsors of Locked On Spurs, Sakura Nutrition. Sakura is a wellness company anchored in food as medicine on a mission to nourish. Go to sakura.com/lockedon20 or enter code lockedon20 for 20% off at checkout. Look, next season is going to be fun. You know, regardless of what the record is, it is time to celebrate 50 years in San Antonio. The Spurs, to close out last week, released 3 alt logos. Big 50, Spurs established in 1973. They put out a hype video. It was exciting. Spurs fans are thrilled. But what do Spurs fans want to see celebrated? Do they want throwback jerseys, like ABA jerseys? Do they want to see the old Alamo Dome court make an appearance at the AT&T Center? What about the old Hemisphere court? We're going to be diving in that and a lot more on this fan episode of Locked On Spurs. And before we bring in our guests, I want to thank you for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. And we are free available wherever you get podcasts. Who is repping the fan base on this very fun fan episode? He is Cameron McClure. Make sure to follow him on Twitter at DangerATX. He's no stranger to these shows. Cam, welcome back.
Hey, Jeff, so happy to be back, man. Thank you for having me on. Really excited to talk about the 50th anniversary of my favorite sports team.
So when the logos and the hype video were released, I mean, what were fans saying? What were they all? Were they jazzed up? What was the vibe?
I think, it's you don't really think. I didn't really even realize that it was the 50th anniversary until I saw that video, and it just flooded me with memories of, like 90s growing up, being real young, watching the silver and black, watching the Spurs. Like, I started watching them right as when Tim Duncan was starting. That's just when I was old enough to start remembering. I was around 10 when he started his rookie season. And seeing that hype video, it brought back the memories of, driving to the Alamo Dome from, Hill Country, hometown of Wimberley, like getting so excited to wear an oversized Tim Duncan jersey, like just cheer and cheer and cheer. Like Avery Johnson made me think that I could be an NBA point guard when I was little until I actually got to do a fan meet and greet and realize he's above 6 feet and he just looks so small on the court compared to all those 7-footers. So I really think it just brought back all those good memories of, people like me, that started our Spurs fan journey like in those 90s, and just getting to see all those highlights and everything was super exciting for me.
Cam, are you old enough to go to have been to the Hemisphere Arena?
I am not. Like I said, 90s is when I really started my Spurs journey. That's just when I was old enough to realize what being a fan, means. So all of that was started for me at the Alamo Dome.
The Alamo, yeah. I think a lot of the Spurs fan base, the majority of them, for me, they're kids, but they started at the Alamo Dome till now. I go back the ending of their ABA days right into their San Antonio days, like as far as NBA time, the Hemisphere Arena. Cam, I'm so old. I remember going to the Hemisphere Arena when they only had one floor. That was it. It was just one level, nothing more, nothing less. And by the way, kids, they used to allow smoking in the Hemisphere Arena, and there used to be a smoking haze over the court. It was a different time for Spurs back in the day, but the Spurs released 3 alternate logos. What did you think about that? What did you think about those logos?
I was all right with them. I think they just look a little bit just in mind when we've had the Fiesta logos, just the hype around those for so long, that when you see these new logos and they're not those like just in your face loud colors, they look a little tame. But
well, I was expecting the Fiesta colors, to be honest with you. I thought they were going to be in that logo. Yeah.
I thought we were going to get some of those logos, or at least just like maybe even just some sort of callback to the only, All-Star weekend San Antonio's ever hosted. I still think that's some of the best logo work our city's ever done. But I do hope it signals that like maybe we'll get some really classic looking silver and black jerseys this upcoming season. Like I'm talking like that ABA logo with San Antonio spelled out. I've always thought
sure.
those look so professional and clean.
And to be honest with you, Cam, look, as much as I love the Fiesta colors, and let's not forget, the Fiesta colors were never on the jerseys back in the day. They were everywhere else on
Right.
the warm-ups, on the pants, at the dome. I mean, hell, remember the old curtain, and remember the retired jerseys, or more like retired portraits. They had the splash of the Fiesta colors in there. So, kids, if you're not old enough to remember, yeah, the jerseys never had the Fiesta colors. This past few seasons, they finally started doing that and incorporating them into the jerseys. Of the last two city editions, Cam, I still prefer last year's when it was that black with the stripes across the chest. What do you think?
I actually, my wonderful, amazing wife actually purchased me a pair of their athletic shorts, like basketball shorts that just have the stripes. And those are some of my favorite things to wear. I wish it was more appropriate to wear them to the office and other sorts of opportunities, because I think those are great. I think it merges the silver and black, just classic feel that really got all the fans. That's where we started our journey, was Fiesta colors on the court, and then that silver and black just running back and forth, up and down. As long as we can officially never see those like digitized military jerseys, if we can just move past those completely.
Cam, I think
in the fans future will be very happy.
I predict in the future Spurs fans are going to be wanting that as a throwback eventually. I think that's what's going to happen. It's going to come full circle, and they're going to be bring back the camo jerseys. We're talking with Cameron McClure. Yeah, exactly. We're talking with Cameron McClure right here on this fan episode of Locked On Spurs, and we're talking about the Spurs fan base's reaction to the news that the Spurs will be celebrating the 50th anniversary next season. So we saw the out logos, and they were nice. They were nice. I like the three different colors ways. You had the black, you had the gray, you had the white, standard logo in the middle. Very basic, and that's San Antonio right there. Very basic. There was no really too much splash to it. But then they like you mentioned, they released that hype video, and my goodness, that was a trip down memory lane. I gotta ask you though, Cam, noticeably absent was Kawhi Leonard. What do you think? Intentional or not?
I think it has to be intentional. Like you can't. That was one thing that I noticed too on like my second viewing of it, because the first one I was just totally in my feelings, just remembering all the. And I noticed, one of the biggest players we've had in the past decade doesn't make an appearance, and that's our most recent Finals MVP player. He was on the most recent championship team, so I think you have to say that I think Spurs made a good decision to just make it solely focus on all the good memories of our team. And they did have some throwbacks to the 2014 championship in there, but I think it was smart of them to not like focus on like Kawhi close-ups and things like that, and just really give the fans just that overarching 50 years of great memories feel in the video.
Do you think they should though? Do you think during next season's celebration, I mean, you feel like they are forced to have to recognize him in some capacity, because as you mentioned, he is the last Finals MVP we had in silver and black. He's the last, I guess, marquee, in player that the Spurs had in team colors. He got his start in San Antonio, and we don't know what 2014, that was his coming out party. Do you think they should? Do you think next season they should recognize his efforts?
I think they should recognize the 2013, 2014 Spurs team, because that to me was just an incredible sports story that I think just because of the Spurs does not get the attention that it deserves. I mean, you have this heartbreaking end to the finals, which has gone down as one of the most memorable final series of all time in the NBA. And then for that, basically that same team to just come back with such a force the next season. Like you could see it in their eyes from the opening tip on day one that there was a clear goal on the horizon. And they were going to do everything they could to achieve it. And then they did. And I really appreciated that team overall. And I think the Spurs can do really well with remembering what that team did and not so much have to focus on, like, oh yeah, we did have this player that we all had our hearts set on as the future of the franchise, and then that didn't work out. I think if the team can just focus on what that core group did, Danny Green, Boris Diaw, I remember watching them completely change their professional play style for that finals. It was amazing.
Yeah, exactly. It was an amazing hype video. If you have not seen it, go check it out. It's available at kinsfi.com/Spurs. So many memories in that video, getting the fans ready for next season, the celebration, of 50 years in San Antonio. And it definitely coming off a very, very emotional last couple of weeks, 3 weeks, Cam, considering what happened when the Spurs attorney went to Bear County Commissioner's Court talking about more games away. So it was definitely needed, considering a lot of Spurs fans, not all, but a lot of Spurs fans were on the ledge and whispering the word relocation. Is this relocation time? We're going to get Cam's thought on that. We're also going to get what he thinks and what he believes the fans want to see during the next season's celebration. But before we do that, hey, looking and feeling your best shouldn't mean deprivation. Instead, choose joy, abundance, and that's where Sakura comes in. Sakura's organic, plant-rich, transformational nutrition programs are designed to help you cultivate body intelligence so you can nourish your body and experience the results you want. Experience true radiance, and it starts on your plate. Sakura is a wellness company anchored in food as medicine on a mission to nourish your body through the power of plants. Sakura gives you the tools you need to transform your life with their organic, ready-to-eat meal delivery program, Functional Wellness Essentials. Their nutritionally designed, chef-crafted breakfast, lunches, and dinners are made with powerful plant-rich ingredients, helping boost your energy, support your digestion, curb your sugar cravings, and get your skin glowing. Plus, it's all delivered right to your door, ready to eat. Sakura's functional plant-rich wellness essentials help you create a body you love living in. From their best-selling metabolism super powder to the foundation, their daily supplemental packs, they got it all. Sakura's products are designed to support your wellness goals anytime, anywhere. And right now, Sakura is offering our listeners 20% off their first order when they go to sakura.com/lockedon20 or enter code lockedon20 at checkout. It's very simple. That's Sakura, SAKARA.com/lockedon20. Get 20% off your first order. Again, sakura.com/lockedon20. We're back with Cameron McClure on this fan episode of Locked On Spurs, and we're discussing next season's big celebration, 50 years in San Antonio for your silver and black. And thanks for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. Make sure to check out Locked On NBA Big Board host Rafael Barlow from NBA Draft Junkies and author of the NBA Big Board newsletter. He's joined by Richard Stamen, Sam Ferris, and Leif Thulin, giving fans an in-depth look into the NBA draft, mock draft, player rankings, and of course, big boards. It's free and available wherever you get your favorite podcasts. And hey, Spurs have a big day tomorrow with the NBA lottery. Cam, let's go and continue talking about our trip through memory lane as the Spurs get set to celebrate 50 years in San Antonio. So we talked about the logos. We talked about the fan reaction to that. We talked about the video, what stood out. Interesting name was left out, Kawhi Leonard. But now let's see what Cam has to say when it comes to what fans want to see next season. Right off the bat, you said you want to see those jerseys. You want to see those ABA classic George Gervin road jerseys. And Cam, it seems to me like they already been leaked. When the season was winding down, a website did leak them. It looks like the fan base is going to get them, Cam.
I mean, I think those jerseys need to come back. I think they just look so classically clean. And, especially for, my generation that didn't quite get to become fans or see the ABA Spurs. Like, the first time I was introduced to what those Spurs look like was in the Will Ferrell movies, Semi-Pro, where they actually play against the Spurs to see who can go from ABA to NBA. And that's when I first really got to see what those jerseys look like. And ever since seeing that movie, I was been a little jealous of the actors who got to wear those. And, I didn't get to wear any or have the opportunity to purchase that style. So I think it'd be great if we could see them, especially if they want to play sort of like a like a remembrance game in the old Alamo Dome, they were in those things. It would just be too perfect.
Glad you brought up the Alamo Dome because next season the Spurs will be playing 4 games away from the AT&T Center. One of those games is going to be in the Alamo Dome. I spoke to a Spurs rep when that news hit and was told that for sure they're looking towards, and all signs are pointing, although nothing official yet, but it looks like there's going to be a throwback reunion game at the Alamo Dome. How big is that? How much are fans anticipating that game? And will Cameron McClure be going?
Well, now that I know that those are more than rumors, I'm definitely going to start marking my calendar to look for that because I mean, I don't even know how nostalgic I would get. I just have so many memories of just like pulling up to the Alamo Dome, just super excited with my dad and, maybe a friend or two if we could afford an extra ticket and just, you know, sitting up high in the nosebleeds, just thinking, like, oh my goodness, these players are so good. I was so young when I first went to my first Spurs game. Like I thought Tim Duncan, that was a nickname because he dunked the basketball. I'm like, oh, they call him Duncan because he
Yeah.
dunks. And like, it just didn't even dawn on me that like, oh, that's actually his real name, and he's a basketball player. So yeah, if that actually gets confirmed that there will be a throwback night at the Alamo Dome, yeah, you're gonna see me there for that one.
Yeah, I think they're going to sell out the dome for that one. That was going to be huge. Expect, the blue curtain to be back, expect the court to be back. Because again, Cameron, a lot of you and your generation of Spurs fans grew up with that Alamo Dome Spurs and leading into the SBC, now AT&T Center. Cameron, what about
Hmm.
this? Having the Spurs launch the water cannon again and getting everybody soaked for a night.
I mean, our summers are only getting hotter and hotter. So if they time it right, it could be a very welcoming sensation with the proper game.
Ken, what else do you think Spurs fans want to see as the Spurs celebrate 50 years in San Antonio next season?
I think what I really want to see as a fan, and what I've just sort of read, just interacting with fans on Twitter and something and things, is we want to see our team sort of choose its destiny. I think there's an old quote by Hunter S. Thompson that I like that says, the person who procrastinates choosing their own destiny will have it chosen for them by circumstance. And I think that's how the Spurs fans feel a little bit right now. We haven't seen this team, choose destiny. And I think that's where we want to see them go, whether it's, becoming a high scoring team, sticking to our defensive roots, but just like really getting an identity that we know what's going to happen game to game and not sort of just like, well, maybe Keldon goes off this game or, just hoping for something, but not having any faith on like a consistent identity that we know we're going to get each and every time the silver and black tip off.
Uh,
And I really think if we can get that, it'd be hugely helpful.
all right, Cam, we talked about it in the first segment. We're going to bring it up right now. Do you think the Spurs, as part of just celebrating 50 years in San Antonio, part of the festivities and fun things to do is to actually bring back those camo jerseys? Would Cameron McClure allow it? Do you think the Spurs fan base would be okay with it, all things considered, next season?
I think if they do that, I would like it to be, like maybe a big three appreciation night because that's really
Mhm.
where those jerseys got their fame was seeing Duncan, Ginobili, Parker in them, even though they looked, in my opinion, awful. Watching those three go out and win, 60 games a season in those things was always impressive.
I would be okay with it. I think Spurs fans, just for a goof, just to have fun with it, I think they should bring it back. At least for a game, just to have fun. I think Spurs fans will definitely have a reaction if they were to announce that the team were to announce that, but I think they'd be okay with it because you're celebrating the history, and that was part of the Spurs history of wearing those old throwback. I'm sorry, the camo jerseys on the military appreciation night. Cal, what about this? Do you think Spurs fans would be okay with maybe inviting some players that maybe are not sitting well with the fan base, like Robert Ory? He definitely is not in favor of the Spurs fan base. You got Kawhi Leonard, you got Steven Jackson. He
Mhm.
tends to say things about the team. You think Spurs fans would be okay just giving them a hello? I mean, I don't even know Kawhi even will show up, to be honest with you. So maybe we should even talk about him.
Yeah, I don't think Kawhi would even sort of return that phone call. It would
Uh,
be nice, like, again, Spurs just have so much success in their history that, like, inevitably there are going to be some guys that are part of championship runs that didn't necessarily become icons for the
mhm.
team. Um, but nonetheless, like, we're crucial linchpins for really exciting Spurs memories. So, like, if we are going to do like sort of championship team reunion nights for the 50th anniversary, yeah, I think you've got to give them a call and at least put the offer out there,
Yeah.
just as a show of good faith.
You think Uncle Dennis will be allowed to come back in?
I
I
think
don't
it'll
think
be
so. Yeah.
no plus ones for Kawhi. It'll just
Yeah,
be him
nope.
and him alone.
Exactly. We're talking with Cameron McClure in this fan episode of Locked On Spurs. We're talking about next year's celebration of all things Spurs as they celebrate their 50th anniversary in San Antonio. Hey, you know what? Summer's here and you want to look better? You're trying to get in shape? Well, that's where Built Bar comes in. Now, imagine this is their new flavor, by the way. This is their birthday cake flavor. But imagine dipping your finger into that plastic tub of birthday cake frosting and then opening your eyes, realizing it's only 150 calories and 16 grams of protein. That's what it's like to eat a birthday cake puff from Built. I got my box over the weekend. I've been chowing down on them. I'm going through them fast. They're packed full of vitamins, packed full of protein, and it's good for you. I forget that I'm eating something healthy. I'm actually thinking I'm eating a candy bar. Look, I've never had anything like this before. You're gonna love them. They're available right now. Yeah, go get them today at built.com. If you haven't tried the puffs, I'll let you know a little secret because that's what friends do. A chocolate covered marshmallow protein bar. That's what it is. You heard me right. It's deliciously flavored marshmallow covered in 100% chocolate. And yeah, you can make every day your birthday with Built's birthday cake puffs. Built has taken the delicious experience of biting into a fresh slice of birthday cake and then covered it in 100% white chocolate and added sprinkles. With 150 calories, 16 grams of protein, and only 9 grams of sugar, this limited time flavor is an amazing option if you're looking for a healthy way to get flavor and variety in your day. All Built Puffs are covered in 100% real chocolate. That means with Built, you can eat healthy and actually enjoy doing it. They're made with collagen protein, which absorbs into your body more efficiently and provides you tons of health benefits. Go to built.com to get birthday cake puffs now. Go to built.com, use promo code LOCK15 for 15% off your order. That's promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at built.com. And we're back with Cameron McClure in this fan episode of Locked On Spurs. We start winding down our discussion on what Spurs fans want to see next season as the team celebrates 50 years in San Antonio. No, we brought it up at the beginning, Cam, and I think it bears repeating. Have Spurs fans come off the ledge already regarding this whole relocation, Austin, games away from San Antonio thing? You think they've cooled down a bit?
Knowing Spurs fans, no, we have not cooled down about that at all. I do think Pete, seeing that statement from the whole family was really put a lot of talked a lot of people back from the ledge that were closest to it.
Mhm.
Um, and I mean, personally, I live in Austin and I don't want to see the Spurs come here. San Antonio deserves that team. And I think it's just, it's perfect. Like, if the Spurs move from San Antonio, then you don't have a professional sports team on I-35 after you get outside of Dallas. And I just think that Texas is too big and deserves more opportunities for quality professional sports entertainment that the Spurs provide.
Cam, what do you think should be trotted out for Spurs fans next season to celebrate 50 years? Is there something we're missing? There's something that Spurs fans got to see. We know if you're going to tier them, we think we got the black ABA jerseys. I think those are more than likely coming. There's no surprise. It's already been leaked. Looks like there's going to be a game in the Alamo Dome. Nothing official, but all signs are
Mhm.
pointing to that. I mean, the Spurs even said it during the county commissioner's court, so it looks like that's going to happen. Um, what else do you think there should happen?
That's actually a really good question. Like, I really do want to I would like to see sort of, because the thing about San Antonio is just some of the wackiest moments in basketball as a sport have happened to the San Antonio Spurs. Like, you've got Manu Ginobili, taking a bat out of midair during an active game like that. No other team has done that or has that legacy. I would just like to see sort of like a night that just celebrates all of just those moments, those insanely random moments that the Spurs have,
That'll be fun. Yeah.
endured. Yeah, and
Water
just,
water cannon night. I think that'll be funny.
water cannon night.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, some night where they jokingly like pretend the AC is off or something again. Just like so many
Oh, Cam
moments
going
where
there.
it's like the sport itself wasn't necessarily the main event or the highlight that night, but something that those glorious and wacky Spurs did outside of the game just is in all the headlines.
You know what? Going back to that bat thing with Manu, they should do something like pin the bat on Manu's hand, like pin the tail on the donkey. And somebody they blind somebody for kind of halftime games. They just try to pin the bat on his hand. I think that'll be fun.
Mhm.
I think they're. I mean, obviously they're not going to turn on the water cannon, at
Right.
the Alamo Dome, but maybe just bring it up. But one thing I think they should do is talk to fans, young and old, and even older like me, uh, to talk about the history of the team because there's so many things, from
Mhm.
you know, uh, not many fans remember this because y'all were just kids, but back in the day, Cam, there was a time where the Spurs were a hair away from leaving. They could have been called the Nashville Spurs.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Maloof brothers came to San Antonio looking to buy the team. It was real. It was a threat. Sean Elliott has been very, open about it. In interviews, he said like, yeah, he goes, the team was close to leaving. So I think realizing how much it's gone through threats like that, the highs of winning titles, the lows of pre Robinson, because those days were very
Mhm.
lean days back.
Yep.
Where the Spurs were really cellar dwellers. I also think celebrating like those random Spurs players that you forget wore colors like Dominique Wilkins. I think that'll be fun. Vinny Johnson wearing Spurs colors, Paul Pressey wearing Spurs colors, just a night of random Spurs players would be
Oh, that would
good.
be great.
Yeah.
And
Go ahead.
well, yeah, and to your point, I think it would be really, really great if they sort of highlighted those tiny, like, sliding doors moments in franchise history of, like, what if the team had been sold and just sort of doing, like, a Marvel's what if of, like,
Oh, that'd be good.
these are
Yeah.
moments where this team could have been completely different. Duncan almost getting traded to Orlando, when he was coming up for his first re-signing.
Mhm.
Those Popovich maybe not getting the head coaching position or almost getting fired, when he first started. Like, those tiny, like, what if moments. Like, what would this team look like had, the coin flipped to the other side during those crucial little pivotal moments?
You think they're gonna extend an offer to the coach that Popovich replaced, Bob Hill? Yeah, I don't think he's gonna come back to San Antonio. Yeah. But no, it's gonna be fun. I think next season is gonna be great. The Spurs fans are gonna love some of the nights, the theme nights. I'm pretty sure they're gonna have like I know if they have a bobblehead night, I would love like a Gervin bobblehead night.
Oh, that would be so
Um,
great.
a James Silas bobblehead night, really, really, go to the guys that helped establish the team in San Antonio. Red McCombs,
Right.
celebrate him. I know they did recently, towards the end of the season, but bring him back. The game in the Alamo Dome. I think that's going to be the big, big, big night. I hope, in the days leading up to that Alamo Dome game, they kind of put on a very light all-star game Saturday vibes to it. And what I mean by that, Cam, is maybe the night before fans can go to the Alamo Dome grounds and just experience things, like maybe tour some old photos, the games that was, in the Alamo Dome. Because that's where the Fiesta colors really got their start. They were kind of coming on, Cam. I don't know if you remember this, but the Fiesta colors were kind of coming on towards the end of their stay at the hemisphere. They were starting to pop up
Mhm.
already, but they really took off um, once they made the transition from the hemisphere to Alamo Dome. And it was just, I mean, just everywhere. And, even talk to, people that remember those introductions of those colors because Cameron, when they were first introduced, fans hated them. They did not like them. I remember fans saying, "What are y'all doing? What is this?" And they were not well received. You fast forward to today, and a lot of the younger Spurs fans are loving them. They want it everywhere. Hey, Cam, if you ever want to have a little side hustle, just put those colors on anything, and they'll probably sell.
Oh,
That's not a
right.
good
And
idea.
I
Yeah.
remember like that All-Star game that was hosted in San Antonio, my dad alone being complaining like at the logo, and he's like, this just makes us look like just like a child's game or anything. Like he did not
Yeah.
like the colors of that like jalapeno.
Yeah.
Um, and so now it's like that's yeah, if you could find an original like all-star t-shirt from that weekend, you could sell it for an immense profit.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's going to be a great next season. Things are definitely going to be looking up for the Spurs. 3 first-round picks. The lottery is tomorrow. I know Spurs fans are excited about that. You got the draft. If they do keep all 3 picks, that's 3 new Spurs players in the mix. Should be a fun, exciting time. DeJounte Murray's talking about how the Spurs will make
Mhm.
the postseason next year. We'll see. A lot of things are coming up, but it's going to be icing on the cake celebrating 50 years in San Antonio. Wow, time flies. Time really flies in San Antonio. But can we thank you for hopping on this fan episode of Locked On Spurs? Tell fans where they can chat with you.
Oh yeah. Thank you so much for having me on, Jeff. I always really enjoy coming on to these fan episodes. Yeah, you want to give me a follow? I'm on Twitter at DangerATX. And you can see, me chatting with Jeff on all things Spurs related, as well as a lot of nerd culture discussion.
Exactly. A lot of when nerd culture is one of Cam's best things. And gonna ask you, what do you think of a multiverse of madness?
I have actually not seen that
You have
one yet.
not
Haven't made a
seen it.
choice. I did actually just finally convince the wife to sit down with me and watch the Batman, which was pretty intense. I didn't think Pattinson was going to pull that off as well as he did.
Oh yeah, it was really really well done, especially the detective angle of him, and we get to see a very, would you say he's still a novice Bruce Wayne Batman still kind of in there, or he's already
Oh yeah,
started? Yeah, he's a novice still, right?
yeah. That was the thing that I liked most is how naive and sort of young they portrayed him as a hero. Like really making mistakes. Villains getting to put one over on him.
Hmm.
Just not doesn't have that edge that was very clear with like the Christian Bale version of
Right.
him.
Because Bale was already in his peak already. That was the Batman in that
Yeah.
Nolan universe right now. I really loved how they highlighted the detective side of young Bruce Wayne, because we have never seen that. I mean, really in
Mm-mm.
that depth. We got a taste of it a little bit with Chris Nolan's Christian Bale Batman. I get a taste with Keaton. Affleck was just all about just pummeling people, wasn't he?
Yeah, and there was like no detective abilities
There
in,
was
in
no,
Affleck.
yeah, Ben Affleck's Batman did no detective work. He just went out there and just beat the living snot out of enemies. Uh, I mean, that's all he did. But yeah, I mean, we really got to see that. But yeah, you see, there's an example right there how much you can engage with Cameron when it comes to the pop culture side of things. Subscribe to Locked On Spurs wherever you get your favorite podcast: Google Play, Stitcher, iTunes. The list goes on and on. And we're now on YouTube. We thank you for making those YouTube numbers grow each and every day. And we also thank you for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. Now make your second listen be Locked On NBA. From the first jump ball of the play-in tournament to the last possession of the finals, Locked On experts take you deep inside the playoffs with insight and analysis affecting all 30 teams. Cameron, once again, we thank you for hopping on this episode of Locked On Spurs. So for Cameron McClure, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock on this episode of Locked On Spurs.